is we're going to do our top 5 pay-per-views. Now, what this encapsulate is like you cannot mention any WrestleMania. You cannot mention any SummerSlams or Royal Rumbles.
Which made it so hard.
Yeah, this is difficult.
Yeah, because like those are the pay-per-views that you save your good matches to have on.
Yeah.
So, but we can go from any promotion you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So whoever wants to take this one,
I'll go for it.
All right.
Yeah, we snake, right? One, this was really, really hard. Everything that I could think of ended up being one of these pay-per-views. So I'm going to go my number 5, Wrestle War 91 War Games, because I had to get a War Games in there, because War Games is my favorite gimmick match. We may talk about that down the road. And that is my favorite War Games because so many people got terribly injured during that match and kind of made it legendary. The powerbomb Sid gave Brian Pillman in that match. I don't know if you ever saw it. Look it up. It's disgusting. And to know that Sid apparently there's an interview where he says he did it on purpose. It doesn't look like he did it on purpose. He may be reverse clout chasing on that one. And also on that same pay-per-view, Stan Hansen versus Vader to a double count out. My type of wrestling, aka dad wrestling. I like seeing, big guys beating the poop out of each other. I don't know if we can curse on this.
Yeah, we've said it.
We've
been telling people to do drugs.
Yeah, fuck, shit, yeah.
Balls.
All right. My number 4 is not a pay-per-view.
Flag.
Not a pay-per-view, but it is one of my favorite shows that kind of made me fall in love with Japanese wrestling, and that's New Japan J-Cup 94. It was a 2-day junior weight tournament. It is the tournament that essentially influenced WCW to do its cruiserweight division, what brought Malenko and Mysterio to ECW and basically started it. In that tournament, you had Great Suzuki, Shujin Thunder Liger, Chris Benoit. I don't think Chris Jericho was in that year, but if you look at the list, it is just like the who's who of cruiserweights from that point forward. Shinjiro Otani, things like that. In the finals, you see Chris Benoit powerbombing Great Suzuki off the top rope, which was a move you just didn't see in the 90s. I know now everyone's powerbombing everyone off everything, but in the 90s to see a top rope powerbomb was insane, especially as a kid. Number 3, I got ECW Barely Legal 97. This is a very personal choice of mine. I begged my parents to let me watch this, and they let me because it was the cheapest pay-per-view compared to the other ones. I would beg them to let me watch it. They would say no. I think it was only $20 at the time. And you have Terry Funk covered in blood winning the world title, defeating Raven. You got the Eliminators versus Dudley Boys. You have the Sandman with the Singapore King. And if you didn't know this, at the time, you could only watch ECW by staying up till 1 a.m. on the MSG network. From 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., they would have a show. So for a kid, it was really hard to do that. You could only do that when it was like the holidays and stuff like that. So be able to watch ECW at a normal time was amazing. Number 2, this is a new one. Backlash 2024. With the France crowd. AJ Styles, Cody Rhodes, great match.
I'm telling you, anything in any...
Anything
in Europe always sounds so much better.
But I've never seen a better crowd than that. Like all the Europe crowds, yes, they're ECW top to bottom. I've never seen a crowd like France 2024, and it made the entire show amazing. And Cody Rhodes was AJ Styles was a damn good match. And then my number 1 favorite pay-per-view of all time, hands down, is ECW Heatwave 98. What I think is the greatest ECW pay-per-view of all time. You have Chris Candido versus Lance Storm, another top rope powerbomb ending. You have Jerry Lynn versus Justin Credible, a top rope tombstone ending. Masa Tanaka versus Mike Awesome. Mike Awesome powerbombs him over the top rope to the outside through a table, and a bunch of head chair shots that give concussions that you don't see anymore. You have RVD Sabu versus Hakushi and Hayabusa, the great Hayabusa who's now in a wheelchair. And in the main event, you just have the Dudley Boys versus New Jack, Sandman, and Tommy Dreamer in an all-right bloody brawl. Every match was a banger. Everything ECW was about at the time. Greatest ECW pay-per-view of all time, ECW Heatwave 98.
Wow.
Yeah.
He walked us through the match you can close your eyes and visualize all the moves that Eric is saying. I can't do that. I'm just gonna say you're never starting any of these fucking lifts anymore because like you set a precedence that make us all look like shit. Right. But here we go. My number 5 My number 5, WCW The Great American Bash 89. So looking this up online, I saw some of these matches, but in this one, you had Jim Cornette versus Paul Heyman.
Oh, this is
in a match.
Isn't this when Cornette Is this when he breaks his leg?
No.
That's
But you're close. You're around that era.
You had Sting versus the Great Muta.
Yeah, that's a good
And Lex Luger versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, which was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then, which was the best, because I did see this one, Flair versus Funk.
Oh, yeah, the submission match, right?
Yes,
yeah. That's a
that
good one.
was really good.
Yeah.
My number 4, I'm going to go with the WCW 91. It was WCW, kind of like a cross promotion with New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
Which, matches to Steiner Brothers versus Hiroshi.
I just watched that.
wait.
Flair Fujinami in the main event.
Yes.
Yes, I just watched that.
Yep.
That match was really good. And it had like a 50-50
Was this the
ending.
one with Sting and Rick Rude too?
Are you thinking when he broke his back?
Yeah.
That was in Japan.
Okay,
Yeah,
that was
the
it.
Sting and Muta fought in that one again.
Yeah.
And you had Vader and Bam Bam Bigelow. Tag team.
Against Butch Reed and Ron Simmons, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Doom.
Vader and
So-
Bam Bam Bigelow, one of my favorite tag teams ever.
Butch Reed and Ron Simmons, very underrated
Very
tag
underrated.
team though.
Yeah. And then we're going to go with number 3, which is WCW Spring Stampede.
A lot of
99.
WCW on you. I'm surprised.
You know, it's growing up watching all these papers, like growing up watching wrestling. My grandfather always watched WCW more because he wanted to watch wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't really like the storyline and in WWF at that time where
Sounds
like
like
they're
me.
talking the whole time. But that one you had Juventud Guerrera versus Blitzkrieg and Rey Mysterio versus Billy Kidman.
Yeah.
Billy Kidman at that time was amazing. Then we have Bam Bam Bigelow versus Hawk, which is the Sandman. Hack.
Would you call him Hawk?
Your favorite wrestler, Chris Benoit, and Dean Malenko versus Raven and Perry Saturn.
You're fucked up.
And then we had Scott Steiner versus Booker T. And then the last match was Ric Flair versus Hulk Hogan versus Sting versus DDP. That was their main event there. And then Slamboree 94 as my number 2. This was kind of like a WCW and ECW. It wasn't really said as a cross promotion, but the wrestlers at that time, you had Austin versus Mark Marrow, Terry Funk versus Tully, William Regal versus Larry Sabisco, Cactus Jack versus Kevin Sullivan
Versus the Nasty Boys, one of my
versus
favorite
the Nasty
matches.
Boys,
Great match.
Sting versus Vader,
Yeah.
and Flair versus Barry Windham.
Yeah, I just watched this one too. This was good.
Yeah, and then my number 1, I kind of I couldn't, it's like thinking, but I didn't, WWF In Your House. But I couldn't just pick one, so I kind of picked like the favorite matches that I like, and my favorite one out of all of In Your House was HBK versus Jeff Jarrett.
Of course you were going to say that.
That's actually surprising. I thought you were going to say him versus Mankind at Mind Games.
No,
I almost
That's
picked
a
that
great
one.
match.
I almost picked
the
that one.
the
But I couldn't remember
showmanship.
any other match besides that one.
Yeah, no, I got
No,
you.
the showmanship in that.
Wait, was that 96 or 97 though? I think it was 96,
I'm
right?
pretty sure
I think
it was
it was
not
96.
So it was there was probably an Austin versus Savio Vega match on that show because they feuded for like the entirety of 1996.
They had another match in Your House was the Hart family versus Austin Goldust and Shamrock. And then the Triple H Hawk Pen match versus Henry Godwin. That was an In Your House
Honestly,
pay-per-view.
bro.
I love that
Dude,
match.
I did
though.
too.
It's
For
just
like stupid shit?
Yes.
For stupid shit matches?
Exactly.
That was like a fun shit
Henry
match.
O'Godwin.
And then we got to go with Hell in the Cell, Taker and HBK.
All right, well, you just picked like 10 pay-per-views. So.
That's what I did. That's what I said. I
Because
couldn't just pick it
you're
in your
the
house.
producer of the
Like,
show
I
and the
just
creator,
picked
so, like, you can just
couple
do whatever,
matches.
You know? Just list every match you've ever seen. How about that? And,
Yeah.
There's only like 3. No. Mr. Andrew.
All right, number 5. Let's see. I didn't really put these in order, but I guess number 5 would be Fully Loaded 2000. If you remember this show, this has a fantastic triple main event of Undertaker versus Kurt Angle. That match itself is not that great. It's pretty quick.
Is that why he beats him really fast?
Yes.
Okay.
Undertaker, Kurt Angle. Then maybe the best Triple H match of that year, and that's one of Triple H's best years, Triple H and Jericho in the semi-main event. And then The Rock and Benoit in the main event.
I remember
where they
that.
had they did like a dusty finish
Yeah.
where
I thought he
Benoit won the belt, and then the
won.
ref came back out and was like, no, and they restarted the match.
I was such a Benoit fan at that time.
It was so well done, though. It was really great. Fully Loaded 2000, great pay-per-view. Number 4, Money in the Bank 2011. Famously, the CM Punk, John Cena main event. Really well done. But there's other really good matches on that show. Daniel Bryan wins the Money in the Bank in the opening match. And then I think Del Rio wins the other one because he tries to cash it in later that night. But that's a really good pay-per-view. And then I think there's also Randy Orton versus Christian on that pay-per-view. And I think that's when Christian wins the heavyweight title from Orton by low blowing him or something like that.
Too.
Then after that, I've got ECW Barely Legal 97.
Ooh.
It's a historic. That's what I thought you were gonna go with too, but just for history's sake, it's an incredibly entertaining pay-per-view all the way through. Every match is entertaining.
And it's not like a match show where I can be like, watch this match, watch that match. You got to watch that whole show because it just feels crazy.
Yes, and especially if you've seen Beyond the Mat or any of the backstage footage of that show, like everything that was going on at the time, and knowing that they were like this close to being like cut off from the pay-per-view feed, like it's a legendary show. Yeah. It's one of the best ever. Number 2, Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor 4. Okay, this is it's the culmination of the ROH versus CZW feud that ran through 2005 and 2006. If you've never seen this show, I implore you to seek it out and see it. Front to back, I have it here. I'm going to pull it up. Give me one moment. This is a fantastic show. Opened up with Delirious versus Seth Delay, kind of like a dark match. The Embassy, which was Jimmy Rave and Sal Renaro, managed by Prince Nana, now with Swerve in AEW.
Swerve.
Defeated Colt Cabana and Jay Lethal. It's a nice little opening match. Nigel McGuinness defeated Roderick Strong for the pure title. Great match. The Briscoes defeated these guys, Irish Airborne, who admittedly I did not remember. AJ Styles defeated Davey Richards. Bryan Danielson defeats Sanjay Dutt for the ROH World title. And then the main event was Team ROH versus Team CZW in the Cage of Death, which was CZW's thing. It was such a good storyline, and there's so much going on in the match between the characters and all this shit. Like, Bryan Danielson is supposed to be Team ROH. He ends up walking out on them, and Cornette comes out, "You motherfucker," screaming at him, and Bryan Danielson is just like, "Fuck you, I don't care." And then Homicide comes out and saves the day. It's so well done. It's fucking great. And then number 1, my favorite pay-per-view of all time. I was there in person. I was a kid. King of the Ring 2001. You've got the tournament itself, which Edge won, but Kurt Angle wrestled 3 times this night. He had 3 matches. Semi-final match, I think he beat Christian. In the finals, he lost to Edge, and then he wrestled Shane McMahon in that brutal match where Shane just got dropped on his head like 4 different times, thrown through the glass. Booker T debuted at that pay-per-view. He ran right past me in the crowd. One of the coolest things I ever saw. The main event was Stone Cold versus Benoit versus Jericho in a triple threat, and those were my 3 favorite wrestlers at the time. So I did not care who won. I was going to be happy no matter what. The Shane and Kurt Angle match at that show is one of my favorite matches of all time. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, Shane almost died that night.
The Angle Slam off of the plywood on top of the ropes is one of the craziest spots I've ever seen.
And then trying to break that glass wall over and over, which...
Back to belly suplex and try to do it twice. Shane lands on his head twice, and he said, "Fuck it,
through it.
I'm just going to throw you through the glass instead." So, improvisation at its best.
That was a good pay-per-view.
Yeah.